It all started with those stuffed animals that have the little press me here button on their hand and they sing and dance. I started opening those up and they have a little push button that then activates the motor that runs the rest of their movement. And I started playing around with kind of like hacking into that and pulling it out and making it sort of a part of another process, like turning a wrench which will then start that. Then it was, I spent a lot of time on Craigslist looking at free stuff, and pianos just started popping up all over the place because you apparently have to pay a lot to get somebody to like remove them if you're trying to throw it out. So people are just trying to itch in to get away for free. And I got 2 pianos, and the idea kind of just clicked at some point where it was, you know, if I'm making these situations for new things to turn on and off other objects, why not have it be one for each key? And 88 seemed just like a great number, just kind of like whole, round, and meaty. So yeah, I just started plodding along and made pieces with more and more switches. Started out with 4, and then 8, and then 22, and now this one has all 88. When I started thinking about wanting to use the piano in this way, it became clear to me that like what I was doing in trying to do this was trying to present some of the experience of what I have in playing a piano to other people through visual medium. So like I like to play piano. I'm not a pianist by any means. I don't really know how to play any songs, but I really love to like sit there and play around and like hear what all the things sound like and like making overtones and all these things. It's really kind of just like an act of exploration and just like kind of like letting my imagination go, and I watched the notes float away from the piano. So this was, I guess, kind of like a way to visually translate that for other people, just kind of like make an object that would display that in a way that was sort of more obvious to somebody else. I've been seeing Zach play music for a long time, and I've always really respected his piano playing, and him just kind of like as a personality. And it kind of seemed very clear to me from the beginning that Zach would be kind of like the perfect person, and I wasn't so sure that he would be into it, but I'm glad that he is so into it. But just kind of like the way in which he plays, and that he's like very talented and can play a very wide range of music and can do things that are very technical, but that he kind of plays with some of the same spirit that I think that I play with myself. He does so, you know, which is a much more refined and well-mannered sense, but he is, I don't know, I don't see him looking at the piano from kind of like a classical perspective. It's not sort of like a tool for him so much as, I don't know, like a mode of transcendence or something. That sounds like totally not the way they want to say it, but the fingertips are really alive.
I started off thinking, like trying to think of a way to like write out every key that would make sense. And like when I first came out, I was writing on like scratch paper, but that. It's like you don't really, or I don't really learn to play music that way. So it's quickly like fell apart. I don't know where the paper is now. So eventually I like isolated certain parts of the room. So like, you know, finding these three lights is this shape, and the chandelier is this shape, plus this lurker. And then like, so that's that chandelier, then finding, you know, how the rest work, and instead of like writing it down, just like playing, like I'm gonna play the chandelier right now, and then I'm gonna switch to the other chandelier, and then I'm gonna switch to the Little Dipper, you know, Big Dipper.
way that I originally envisioned this piece was as an interactive piece, that it would be static until the viewer came in and plunked the first key. And I guess that's how I was building up to it, and then it was kind of like running into setbacks and little pitfalls where people are oftentimes not so eager to kind of like interact with the piece. They're like afraid almost, or like not sure that they're like allowed to touch it or how far they're allowed to go, and people would kind of come up and, you know, plunk one, plunk one, plunk one, and like, but, you know, it's a fine way of playing it, but like it was just, but they were just very timid about it. So what I hope Zach enables other people to do is to see kind of like the excitement of like what playing this might be like, so that to see Zach play the piano would kind of encourage people to want to play it themselves.
There are certain things that this setup kind of calls for. So like the chandelier looks really good. It's interesting to play with the chandelier, but the notes that create aren't necessarily something that would traditionally make sense. But it does end up making sense because you just play. It becomes a theme. If you're playing and like I want to play the chandelier now, that's a certain sound, and like I want to play the other chandelier, that's a sound, or I want to play the living room, that's a sound. And I'm still working on like getting the like fundamental or like the foundation of like literally like that's where the chandelier is, that's where this is, and then the idea is to not have to think about it anymore, and it's just like I'm playing and maybe I want to light up over there just randomly, so I can.
I hope people understand this difference between, I guess, like, it being a piano controlling the room and it being sort of like the music itself, or like, you know, like the notes themselves being these pieces in the room.
In that there are parts of the room that look good or want to be lit, and that those always correspond to certain parts of the piano. Those certain parts of the piano might not be something that I would play necessarily, but it makes sense to play because of the room.
Alternatively, also what I hope people might take from this would be to see the difference between the piano and the piano player, and that there's kind of like what is inherently a part of the machine itself and what it can do and what it allows you to do, and then what you as the person controlling that machine want to do with it.
So the overall goal was to get this integration between me playing piano and the room sort of playing me.
I hope that they sort of get a bit of a sense of mystery and magic in having the music be creating the environment.
I was going to pull out the synesthetic card. It's like the closest to being, you know, to being synesthetic as I'll ever come.
I think it's good to bite off way more than one can chew. I think that sometimes it can be very healthy to make yourself climb up a mountain. But, you know,
yeah, I know about that.
Yeah, it's good to do something really big.